of the African National Congress, and that will be the end of our briefing. We may take one or two questions, depending how it goes. So for now, let me allow Maulana Abdul Khalik Ali to make his remarks.
Thank you. On behalf of the United Ulama Council of South Africa, representing its 9 member affiliates, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to His Excellency, our Honorable President, Cyril Ramaphosa, the President of the South African Government, as well as the President of the ruling party, the African National Congress. I further like to extend our gratitude and appreciation to the Deputy President for facilitating this particular process of our deliberations and discussions, as well as members of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress. This meeting has been well received, very well articulated, and much needed. The United Ulama Council of South Africa, joined by the South African Friends of Palestine, as well as the Palestine Solidarity Alliance, are extremely grateful for the extent of our discussions here. We have been reassured, and the position of the African National Congress and the government has been very clearly articulated to the delegation here this afternoon. I would like to hand over to my senior, my colleague, our Honorable Maulana Ibrahim Ban, that serves as the Secretary General of the Jamiat al-Ulama South Africa, which recently celebrated its centenary celebrations as one of our leading members of the founding members of the United Ulama Council of South Africa. I thank you. Bismillah.
Oh, see.
Thank you.
The Honorable President, Deputy President, Secretary General of the ANC, other members of the NEC, comrades, respected colleagues, we have issued a press statement which we have distributed amongst members of the press. If anyone needs a copy of that statement, it can be forwarded to all members of the press. However, I would just like to briefly reiterate some of the points that have been made in our press statement. Firstly, we would like to thank the ANC, the government, for the opportunity to address this important issue, especially at a time when the Zionist genocidal massacres have now claimed the lives of well over 20,000 Palestinians, and Gaza has been reduced to a wasteland where over 70% of homes have been demolished under heavy, unrelenting and indiscriminate bombardment without any due recognition of civilians. Meanwhile, in the occupied West Bank, barely overshadowed by dreadful scenes from Gaza, mass incarceration and extrajudicial killings of Palestinians and humiliating, brutal and daily military raids into homes continue. In this particular regard, we would like to place on record our gratitude to the ANC and the government for highlighting the violation of the rights of the Palestinians and for correctly dubbing what is happening there as a genocide. South Africa has been resolute in various international forums in calling and dubbing this as genocide and calling upon the international community and making its voices heard with regard to the genocide that is carrying on. Because of the moral obligation of South Africa, because South Africa has experienced something very similar to what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. The apartheid Israel that is doing, and the apartheid in Israel is similar and akin to what happened in South Africa. Because of this, they have taken a rightful stance in this regard. We have called upon the South African government, together with a stance, in highlighting and continuing to highlight the situation of the genocide and to highlight the rights of the self-determination and the freedom of Palestine in various world forums, in the United Nations, in SADC, in African Union. We have also called upon the South African government on few important issues. And one of the issues that we have highlighted is that we have to prioritize the investigation and prosecution of South Africans who are in violation of the Foreign Military Assistance Act 15 of 1998, which does not allow South African citizens to participate in military conflicts in other parts of the world. We have brought to the attention of the South African government of South African citizens who are participating in the Israeli Defense Force and perpetuating the oppression and the killing of Palestinians. We have also called upon the South African government to lead the international community in punitive sanctions in BDS against the apartheid Israeli regime. And this is also based on the fact that BDS played a very important role in isolating apartheid South Africa. And in a similar manner, just as apartheid South Africa was comprehensively isolated, we have called upon South Africa to lead the call to the international community to do the same. We have also called upon the South African government that South African entities, individuals and companies that support terrorism and the building of settlements must also be addressed. So these are some of the aspects that we have called upon the South African government based on its moral obligation with regard to what it is presently doing, and to continue that particular stance of highlighting the oppression and the genocide against the Palestinians, and to be on the rightful side of history. We have also taken into account the government's and the president's meeting with the South African Jewish Board of Deputies, and of course it is something that perhaps as a government it is required to meet with all its citizens. However, we condemn that any attempt to distort the South African government's view on Palestine by the South African Jewish Board of Deputies. We are very clear with regard to this particular matter that criticism of the apartheid regime and criticism of the Zionist political ideology, which regards Palestinians as subhumans, and there are enough instances of ministers calling upon and making mention in public statements of Palestinians as subhumans and referring to them as animals. We make it very clear that in our situation that criticism of Israel is not in any way anti-Semitic, and we make this particular distinction. And therefore we just make these few points which of course the press statement has highlighted many other important points. For fear of becoming very lengthy, I will just conclude my statements at this particular level, and of course if there is any other questions we will take it upon, we will take those questions. Another important point that we have highlighted to the government and to the ANC, it is something that has also been done previously, and that is we cannot dictate to the oppressed people that who represents them and on what basis they will do their resistance. We know that resistance to occupation and oppression is a legitimate right which is even recognized by the United Nations. Now, who the Palestinians choose to be the people who will lead their resistance is something that we will not be determining. It is something that the Palestinians will be determining. So I will conclude with these few words, and we will perhaps take the press statement further, the press conference further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think let's now give the opportunity to the President. Just you can shift your mics now.
Closer.
Yeah.
Closer for what? For the mic?
Okay, we now have all the mics and we'll allow the President the opportunity to brief us.
Thank you, Deputy President Paul Mashatile. I would like to say that the ANC welcomes this opportunity for this very important engagement and the statements that have been articulated by Maulana Abdul Ali and my brother here, Bam, speak to the very good cooperation between the various organizations that are in support of the struggle of the people of Palestine. And the ANC welcomes this because the African National Congress would like to make it very clear about our unequivocal support for the struggle of the people of Palestine, for their freedom and self-determination. We use this opportunity to clearly set out the various measures that we have been taking, both as the ANC as well as government, to deal with the situation of unfolding in Gaza, in the Middle East, and also to reiterate our solidarity with the people of Palestine, both as government as well as the African National Congress. And we do this not out of political adventurism. For us, this is a matter of principle that is born out of our own experience as the people of South Africa who struggled against an oppressive apartheid system, a system that looked upon the majority of South Africans as being worthy of much lesser rights than the white people who were in control of the country. We waged a valiant struggle led by the African National Congress, and we triumphed against apartheid. As we have looked at the sufferings of the Palestinians, we have seen similar features of what the Palestinians are going through as what we as South Africans went through. And for that reason, that is why we have said that what is unfolding in Gaza is a genocidal onslaught and slaughter of the people of Palestine. That the world can stand by and countenance the collective punishment that is being meted out against a people where more than 20,000 people have been killed through bombings, through shell attacks from tanks, and all that is something that we should all be appalled about. That children and women are being killed in the cruel manner that we are seeing is something that should concern us all. And that is why the African National Congress, and indeed our government, have taken a stand to speak out against what is happening there. And we've also said that we do also speak out against what happened on the 7th of October, because women and children were also killed. So our position should be seen as being very clear, that we do speak out against what we believe is unjust. But what is unfolding now in Gaza is beyond being unjust. It is genocidal. And that is why we are dubbing it as a genocide against a people and a collective punishment against innocent people. And it is for this reason that we have called for a ceasefire. And we even go on to say it must be beyond calling for a humanitarian ceasefire. It must be a complete ceasefire. The slaughter of people in Gaza must stop. And it has also moved on to the West Bank. That must stop, and that war must be brought to an end, as to allow negotiations to take place. We've always called for peaceful resolutions of conflict, and this is one of them, where we say there needs to be a stop so that negotiations should ensue. People around the world are responding with horror and shock to what they see unfolding in that part of the world. And we say this should stop now to enable discussions to happen. And yes, the hostages must be released, and so must the prisoners who are also being held in Israeli prisons also be released, to create a conducive environment for peaceful discussions and negotiations to ensue. We as South Africa have been sending humanitarian assistance, and we will continue to do so in the form of food, in the form of medical assistance. The gift of the givers has proven to be a very good agent in this regard, and our assistance is channeled directly as well as through the gift of the givers, which is a trusted South African organization. But even they are having trouble and difficulties in sending through the assistance that we have offered. We have withdrawn our diplomats from Israel, and we have said that they should come back for consultations, and those consultations continue. As a government, we have also noted and seriously noted the resolution that was taken in our National Assembly, and that process of evaluating how we can proceed forward is now currently underway. We have attended a number of peace conferences and have spoken very clearly and strongly in those conferences. One of those that we attended was the Cairo Peace Summit, convened by Egypt, called by President al-Sisi, where we articulated a very clear position on our stance in support of the struggle of the people of Palestine, as well as calling for a ceasefire so that humanitarian assistance can go through. At the United Nations, South Africa's position has always been clear, and we voted correctly, and we have entered into those debates. And we will continue to engage with a number of countries on this matter, always calling for this ceasefire as well as for the humanitarian assistance to be given. So our position is very much aligned with the position of the organizations that are represented here. The various organizations that, like the Ulama Council and the Muslim Judicial Council and a number of others, as well as the Palestinian solidarity groups. And we say very, very clearly, the struggle of the Palestinians we see as a struggle that we should support. And this we also act in line with what the father of our nation said, that South Africans will not be free until the Palestinians are also free. That to us is a very clear position. So this is not political adventurism. It is based on principle, and we would like to see the people of Palestinians being free and being able to exercise their own self-determination. And in this regard, we have supported a two-state solution as being the most viable solution that can lead to peace. And we call on peace-loving people around the world to support the cause of the Palestinians. They've been yearning for peace for well over 75 years. And we believe that ending this crisis now should be what we focus on in order to usher in a new era, an era of peace and an era of two states living side by side on a peaceful basis. So we really thank the leaders of these various organizations assembled here so that, one, the ANC can clarify its position, as well as speaking for government, but also that we want to continue working together so that we support the people of Palestine. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will take 5 questions. Just Sophie.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Before, I want to note everybody.
داود علي.
No, you just your name.
داود علي العربي تي في.
Alala TV, you'll be number 2. You are? Lunga will be number 3. Citizens. ENCA will be number 4. Wait. Yeah, now I'm coming this side. What TV?
Faraz from Hilal TV.
Faraz, you'll be number 5. Okay, I can take one more.
Yes, sir. This side.
Where are you?
Salam Media.
Cyril will be number 6. Okay, let's go in that order. Sophie first.
Mr. President, you spoke about the two-state solution, but weekend, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, made a very strong statement indicating that he has been working very hard to stop this notion of two-state solution and also its implementation. With the leader of a party or a country that is supposed to agree to this, making such utterances, is there a prospect for Palestinians to be finally free? And the last question, the DRC is going to the elections. I'm sorry to steal this, but we can't forget what's happening on the continent. Your message to the Congolese.
Okay, number 2.
It was the first question is mine.
Repeat it.
يعني Mr. President to speak about the two-state solution, but all Israeli officials in all ranks, they are speak about it's not working now.
Okay. That was your question. Number 3.
Number 3.
Lunga.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Is that Lunga, number 3?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. President, basically what I wanted to find out is what is it that are you going to do about the utterances by former President Zuma? Is the ANC planning to maybe expel it? Is there going to be any disciplinary hearing that you guys are going to do?
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Show me out. Okay. ENCA.
All right. Ian Mulukum Lotto is my name from ANC. Mr. President, on Thursday,
the 21st, it will be a full month since Parliament took that resolution to cut relations with Israel and to expel the ambassador here. I heard you saying that that process is underway. How much time do you need if you really believe that was the rightful decision, considering the fact that the war or the killing of Palestinians is continuing?
Okay, Farah.
Mr. President, Farah Patel from Ilal TV. During your meeting with the BRICS leaders, you reiterated your call for those ICC war charges to be laid against Benjamin Netanyahu and his cabinet. Now we see, and in small pockets of European nations, for example, Spain's opposition party, calling for something similar. How much confidence do you have as the African National Congress and as an executive of the South African government that these charges will happen, given that the ICC has been very slow at certain times to institute war crime charges? So, you know, what is your confidence level in terms of that happening? Thank you.
Thank you, Slilo.
Mr. President, Cyril here from Salam Media. I wanted to quickly ask, is it possible for the President to expand a bit on the consultation process with our Israeli diplomats, and what exactly does the process entail, and how far along are we from a final outcome regarding our embassy in Tel Aviv?
Okay, that's the end. We allow the President to respond.
It looks like I'm the only one who's being asked questions, and I'm not the only one who makes statements. So I'm your key target. There are other targets here that you should have focused on. Sophie, yes, we've heard what Benjamin Netanyahu has said about working hard to prevent a two-state solution. A two-state solution is a globally accepted solution for the problems that have been existing between Israel and Palestine. The United Nations has articulated its view in that regard, and the African National Congress as well, and many other organizations. So it is a view that Prime Minister Netanyahu has put forward, and clearly it needs to be examined precisely against the backdrop of what the United Nations and indeed other organizations around the world have put forward in relation to what the most viable and sustainable solution is in the conflict between Israel and Palestine. So he has put forward a position, but the position that exists in the world is for a two-state solution, which many people believe is the most viable and the most sustainable. So is there any chance that this would succeed? It is a matter that needs to be properly examined once there's a ceasefire. Once the ceasefire has been installed, it is then that the interlocutors from Israel and Palestine, aided and assisted by a number of other organizations and countries that can play a role. We have said that as South Africa, we've always been ready, willing, and prepared to play a role, as we have done in various other conflicts around the world, to bring about peace between Israel and Palestine. And in this regard, yes, there are a number of approaches that are always made, and we stand ready to participate in all those based on what has been accepted as the most viable solution to this conflict. You want me to reflect a bit on the elections that are going to take place in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. We are in full support of the democratic process that should unfold and is unfolding in the DRC, and we will be sending an observer mission to also go and observe those elections, the conduct of those elections. And we wish the people of the Democratic Republic of the Congo the great deal of luck and success for their holding of these elections. It is important that they should consolidate the democracy that they have established themselves, and we would call on all to respect the will of the people of the DRC that should be expressed through these elections without any form of outside interventions. And we would like to see peace also being observed in the DRC, particularly on the eastern side, as to allow the people on the eastern side of the DRC to be able to participate in the elections without any form of fear and any form of interference. That, we believe, is very important. From my brother from the Arab TV, I think I've responded to the issue of the two-state solution. Lunga asks, what will the ANC do about the announcement that was made by former President Jacob Zuma? And what I can say to you is that we all listened to that announcement, and we have noted what he has said, what he has announced, and that is as far as we are prepared to go at this point in time. And everyone in our country is free to express themselves in relation to who they will vote for and why they will vote for them. And we have noted what former President Jacob Zuma has announced. Dademoloko, you say it's a full month since our National Assembly took that decision. Yes, indeed, it is so. And as I said in my earlier statement, we have noted, not only noted, but we are examining precisely what the National Assembly has put forward. We are government, and as government we have to take into account a variety of issues, both diplomatic, political, as well as a broad range of relationship issues. And so that has been noted, and we are going to be giving close attention, as I said, to what the National Assembly has decided. From Faraz TV or so, in relation to the ICC, do we have confidence that the ICC will act on what the South African government has decided to do in terms of referring the case that needs to be investigated to the ICC about the atrocities that are unfolding in the Middle East? We have confidence in the ICC. We are part of the ICC, and we would like the ICC to act in accordance with their statutes, with their rules and regulations, so, because once a case has been referred to them, they need to take it up seriously. So South Africa, as well as a number of other countries, are presenting their full documentation to the ICC, and we expect the ICC to commence with its negotiations. Cyril spoke about the consultation process. I forgot to write the full details of that, Cyril.
Consultation with the diplomats from Israel.
Oh, yes, the consultation with the diplomats from Israel. As a South African government, we are continuously involved in a number of consultations at a diplomatic level. It happens because we are government, and as government, we need to be responding to a variety of approaches and consultations as well. in relation to our own diplomats, the consultation process continues, and obviously, because as a government, we also have to deal with other governments, including the Israeli government. Those consultations and discussions also continue. And of course, they are of a sensitive nature that we need to be sensitive about. But in the end, once those consultations have been completed, we are duty bound as government to inform our people what has been decided. But right now, our diplomats who continue to observe what is unfolding there, even from far afield here in South Africa, we continue to consult them on a daily, almost on an hourly basis. And we get to know what is taking place, and we filter through that through the various other measures that we need to embark upon. So that consultation continues. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody who needs further information can contact the Office of the Secretary General. The briefing is ended.
Thank you.
Long live.
Merry Christmas.
You can hear him. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
Excuse me, on behalf of the delegation, we wish to hand over to His Excellency a book that speaks about shattering Zionist myths, 100 distortions identified by Dr. Feroz Osman. Whilst we were meeting, His Excellency shared with us some of the current readings, and this book will be extremely beneficial to shed light on the very foundation of Zionism. Zionism equals apartheid, and therefore we appeal to the media to be very factual about our position as the United Ulama Council of South Africa, that we are a people equally supported by the Jewish community in standing up for humanity of the Palestinian people. I would like to make the concluding remark to say it is very, very painful for what we are witnessing in Gaza and in Jenin and in the West Bank. There are much talk happening. It is time for action. And we appeal to the United Nations. We appeal to the international bodies to take the position of the South African government very, very seriously, and to act against Zionist occupation. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. As I accept this book, I would like also to say, a week ago or so, as you will have heard, we did meet a delegation at government level of the South African Jewish Board of Deputies. And we issued a statement thereafter. We were concerned that there were some distortions, but at the same time, we are also have been asked to meet a group of South African Jews who are supportive or who support the struggle of the people of Palestine. We are going to meet them as well, as we are meeting the various organizations represented here at also government level who support the people of Palestine. We do this as a government so that we are able to be balanced in our approach. Obviously, we still base our own position, even as government, on principle, on an irrevocable support for the struggle of the people of Palestine. And we will continue to hear various views and various voices. So I just wanted to be clear on that we are also going to meet South African Jews who support the struggle of the people of Palestine, because there are a number of other Jews in South Africa who hold a different view. And those we are going to meet as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. President.
You're most welcome.
I saw her there and I said, who are you? And she very reluctantly said, how do you, she said she's studying in Wits. So I said, how do you manage as a daughter of the president? She said, no, I'm very discreet.
Yes, she's very discreet. Very discreet. It's a burden that they carry because, but politically they are very clear. Very, very clear. I'm actually very proud of my children in that regard. They don't mince their words.
I was talking, sharing a thought with
I was telling you, I met his daughter. So
Okay.
and also, it's your Patricia's wife is your